Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I wanted to share with you a project that I did for Decorate Your Life's new February kit called Marie Antoinette, and it is absolutely a lovely, lovely, beautiful collection. At the end of this video, you'll find that I'll link the unboxing if you're curious to see the full flip of this collection. But I will share with you my discount code, which is Dalia15. It'll save you 15% off your cart at checkout, even if it's already on sale. And you will find in my description box all direct links to the collection in case you're interested, as well as her Etsy shop and her online store. And this particular paper collection comes in printed form in two different sizes. You have the small paper pack, which is 5 3/8 by 5 3/8, and you have her traditional size, which is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, and you can see how lovely it is. So I shared with you last week some of the framed images, and I told you then that this was going to be a building on project. So today I wanted to share with you where I put those beautiful framed images. And here it is. And I'm going to show you how I did these cute little parchment paper bags and turned them into some shabby chic goodness. I still have some ephemera here from Whispers, but this is a pocket, and this is a pocket back here where you can stick some goodies and tags. You can glue this down onto your journal page, or you can have it free floating and have it clipped on. And then I added some layers back here, some of the bling that was available in Sandi's shop. Here is this beautiful lady. There she is. Isn't she pretty? Oh my gosh, I think she turned out lovely, sitting right there on this glassine bag. So, and then here is this version of her with some tulle and some lace. And then, of course, some paper from the collection. Once I cut these images out to what I wanted, I used the scraps to be able to layer up on the glassine bag. So here is one piece of an image. Here's another one. And then here is this one. And you can see the paper peeking through underneath all this fluff, the lace trim that's in her shop, some from my stash. And I think it turned out absolutely lovely. So I'm going to show you how I did these today. So we're going to do another one together. And if you're interested in learning how you can do your own parchment bags, let's get started. Okay, so this is the parchment paper I've had in my craft room for a long, long time. I forgot what I bought it for, and then we just never used the rest of it. So I will have to tell you, there is going to be a lot of crinkling involved. So just be prepared for that. Parchment paper is very crinkly and does make a lot of noise, but it's something that we all love in our journals, is to have that texture and crinkle and, you know, just all of it. So you're going to need some kind of parchment paper. You can also purchase this at Dollar Tree. They have a cheaper version. This is just what I had. I wanted to use it. I did use my silicone glue. This works just like Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1 Beacon. It is almost like it is a hot glue, but in liquid form. And this is the brand. And I buy it at my local discount store. You can see that price, $1.49 for 3.38 fluid ounces. And it works just like Fabri-Tac. Very economical way. Fabri-Tac is very expensive. You're going to need some scissors. I have my homemade tearing ruler. This is the metal from an aluminum foil, which you usually find right here. That's what I use. Once I use my aluminum foil, I took that off, and then I used some kind of permanent glue and glued it to the edge of my ruler, and it gives me that perforated look. So if ever you want to do your own homemade kind of tearing ruler, there it is. So no rhyme, no reason, no measuring. I just went and pulled out what I thought would be a good enough size. right? So what is that about? If you need measurements, that's about maybe 17 inches or so. And then this is the part, this has been in my stash for so long that tearing it becomes a problem. All right, so that's what I got. That's what I started with. And this one turned out to be about, oops, I don't want it to fall. This one turned out to be about 19 inches. And all I did was fold it in half as best I can, because I do know that I have uneven edges. Okay, and then I took my tearing ruler and slid it in there, right up, butted up there, and then I just pour it. Okay, so now I have that. I have two pieces that look about the same size. So out of that one tear, we can do 4. And then I'm going to take that next one, and I'm going to get it as even as I can to the edges. I'm going to crease it again, and then I'm going to tear that. So each one of these is going to make one. So because we're not measuring and we're not doing any of that, some may be a little wider than others. And that's okay. So all I did was make sure at least my top edge is as even as it can be. One edge at least as even as it can be. So I come in around the middle, and then I bring this one. Now this one looks like it's going to be a wider version, so I don't want that. So let's see if we can trim this down a bit. So I think I'm going to want maybe this much. And now these pieces you can use to layer in as well. So we're going to come in halfway, and then we're going to overlay it as much as you want to get it to the width that you want. Make sure at least the top edge is even. And that is it. We already got the form of our pouch. Now, hot glue will not work on this parchment paper. I've learned that the hard way. But silicone glue seems to work very, very well. So I'm just going to lay some glue there, and then I'm going to lay a thin layer along this edge because they will overlap. And as you can see with the glue, it looks just like Fabri-Tac. I will tell you there is a slight odor to it, just like there is to Fabri-Tac, but it's not offensive or overpowering. Okay, we're gonna let that catch. Okay, and as you can see on these, my seam is on the inside, so you have a nice clean finish there. Now we're going to take the bottom, just like you would do a coin envelope, and take the bottom. You're going to crease it, and then you're going to take the top and you're going to crease it. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can lay it open and bring this corner in to the edge if you don't want to cut. Okay, on each end, and I'll bring it closer for you to see. You can do that. All right. And then we can glue. I think I'm just going to add just a little dab of glue there, just to keep that flat. And then we're going to glue these 2 together. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back over itself. Make sure those are in, and we're just going to glue that shut. And then we're going to take this piece and glue it up. Okay. And there we have it. I have a little seepage here. We're going to get rid of that. Okay. And just that easy, we sealed our bottom. We have some nice even edges there. You can do it that way, or you can do how I did those, is I just mitered the edges, the corners. Okay. And then this is the side where we're going to build on. I folded that down, folded the back out of my way, right? So I can see the edge and be able to cut that away. That's how I did those. I did that for the top and I did that for the bottom. So if you don't want a lot of bulk, which there really isn't any, this is very thin paper, you can do it that way. Just cut this off and then you would pull that over and that'll give you a nice clean finish at the bottom. But there it is. Our pouch is done. Now, I use scraps for those to build on. But I think this time I don't have any scraps. I used them all. So I think I'm going to lean into the smaller paper pack. Aren't these images just gorgeous? Those are the fussy cuts. I'm not going to use her because she will be hiding. Oh, what do I use? Oh, I think I want a little bit of that teal peeking out at the top. So let's do this. So I am going to figure out more or less how big I want my paper to be. So I think I want a big enough edge because I do want the material to show underneath. So this is what I'm gonna go with. Inking is optional. I like to ink. I like the distinction of the edges, and I am using, what am I using? I am using Vintage Photo. And I just want to distress that just a little bit, just so you can see the edges. And I pulled out some, it's for the next bag. I pulled out some material. I have some old laundered bed linen here that I think I'm going to want to lay underneath. So let's see. This is the fun part. You can just rip and tear and do all sorts of stuff. So I think I'm going to want it around there-ish. So I'm just going to snip in there. So I have that. And then I'm going to come in maybe around here-ish. And we're going to tear that. So I think that's going to be my first layer. And I like all the strings. Just makes it look nice and frayed. I do have some tulle left over here. Let's see. More or less. And then maybe around here-ish. Just trying to follow the line. Let's see. Okay, let's see what that looks like so far. Okay, you don't see the mesh and you don't see the fabric. So let's move this just a little bit over. A little bit over. I want you to be able to see the different layers. I'm going to scooch this down, just scooch it up a bit. And let's see what I can add under here. What do I have? All right, I have a little bit of this trim that I think will look lovely down there. All right, so let's start laying this down. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having fun getting into your crafty space for a little bit. All right, getting creative. And for those of you who have been with me for a while know that I really have not done a lot of shabby chic projects, but I am really having a lot of fun with this. So there is our first layer. This one's going to be our second. I'm not worried about that now, but I do want to add this down here. And then we're going to lay that right there. So I can peek right off the edge. That's pretty. And let's give that a trim. And then let's give this a trim. Okay. Okay. And then this one's gonna go right around there off to the edge. And then this can sit right on top. All right. So we're gonna glue this down. Now I'm not worried about gluing the mesh down because this is going to seep right through and just kind of trap it right underneath there. So I'm being a little generous because I want it to grab. I wonder, do I want it like that? Nope, there's writing, so we're gonna have to do it like this. Figure out my placement. Okay. And then we're gonna hold that down for a little bit and let it catch. Now the beauty of Sandi's collections is that they really go well with each other. So I didn't do a frame for this one, but I do have her that I think I can possibly use, or maybe her. That I think I can possibly use. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I have her too. All right, let's see. Let's see what we're gonna do. All right. So there's our little bag. This is what this is looking like so far. And so I'm just giving it a good press because I really want it to catch. I think I'm going to want to put a little bit of this underneath, and I think we're going to use her. I don't trust myself to cut straight. We're gonna wing it. Okay. Maybe I want to round those corners a little bit. Make it look less harsh. Add some ink to that. Let's see. Oh, I like that. I really like that. I did pull out some bling because I did bling some of the other ones, and I'm wondering. Let's see. Just gonna lay the whole thing there, but I just want to see if I want a ring of bling to show somewhere. Maybe not there. All right, let's go with this. So I am going to use her and just cut across. I can scooch this down. And then we're going to, oh, I still have a little bit of this lace. So maybe if I attached, I like that. All right, so let me cut this down to the edge of the flower. And then we're going to center that right in here. Use all the little bits. then she can go there. Okay. So now, again, I'm being generous because I wanted to go through that mesh. Then we're going to flip it. And then we're going to place her center-ish. Right around there. And then I'm going to hold that down. All right, let's clear this area off a little bit. I think that looks pretty. Oh, not grabbing. All right, so now, let's see. Did it get through? Yeah, it got through. It's just wet. All right. Just gonna have to hold it down for a while. But while we're waiting for that, you can take this in any direction you want. It is very easy to decorate. This one, I actually used a spare piece of cardstock and just layered some material on it. And then made it into a pocket and added the bling. Okay. I'm gonna use some clamps here. Does it reach? Barely. Let's see. Where are my big ones? Okay. Just want to make sure it stays as flat as possible. Get the corners where I can. Okay. No, that doesn't reach. Sorry about all the rustling. Let's fold that down. Let me fold it back. And we're gonna let that dry for a little bit. Doesn't take long. And then we can figure out if we need anything else, maybe a word or something else. But let me show you again how we did it. So we just based off of the fact that I didn't do any measurements, I knew that my bag was a little too big. So we're gonna just take some of that off. Try to take your even edge. And let me give you the measurements to this just in case. This is 7 7/8 by 6. And the bag, we fold it in half. We bring the next one, overlap it a little bit. That's going to determine the width. Okay. You're going to glue it. Let's just put a little bit of glue on this side, down the edge. Ooh, that was a lot. Gave it too much of a squeeze. So spread that out. And then we're gonna bring it over and press. Okay. You're gonna fold up. And then open them, and then bring this crease down to the bottom edge right here. Line it up and give it a good press. And you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Bring that corner to the edge of that bottom of the pouch. Give it a press. And then we're gonna glue it shut. Okay, so you're gonna tuck in those corners and then just roll it back so it's flat. Okay. And then you're gonna come in and then you're gonna glue it up. If you don't want to do, I'm gonna roll this back up. If you don't want to do that little piece up here, you can always use some decorative edge scissors, give it a little scallop, and then just bring your cluster down to the bottom. But I like to reinforce the edge. So whatever I decorate, I like to keep it up as close to the top as possible. All right, I'm gonna bring that down. I'm gonna miter the corners. And then I'm gonna open them up. Those perforated edges really stick to each other. I'm gonna open them up and fold them back in opposite ways so I can see the part, which is the front part where the seam is at. That's the part I wanna cut away. So I'm gonna come in and cut that away. And bring it back up, and that is your bag with your seal. And then decorate how you want. So let's see how this is doing. All right, so now it's stuck. And then we have our pouch right up under here. Still needs to grab. But there goes our bag. So you can slide anything you want in there. So there is my project share for Marie Antoinette. How to make your own little parchment pouches. And this is the one we did together. Off the cuff. Using a leftover bit from Whispers. And you can see how well it goes together. Here's the ones that I did before when I shared the frames, and I think these came out lovely. And then now I just have to stuff them and put them into my final project. But I think I want a bow on this one. Let me get a bow. So I have my bag of pre-made bows. And I think I'm gonna want, do I want a soft pink? Or do I wanna go with, ooh, that is such a pretty green. I think I'm gonna wanna go with that. Or how about a white one? No, I think the white gets lost. What do you think? But I really like that green, so I think I'm gonna go with the green. And I don't have my hot glue gun warming up. And this is a 3-layered, a 3-bow bow, 3-loop bow. But let me just tighten this up here. That's good. I think that would look really pretty right up there. So let me glue this here. Normally I do this with hot glue, but it is not on right now. I think I'm gonna wanna bring it down just a little bit, but I am gonna get a clip to hold it in place while it dries. And right there. And then we can trim our little tails. And I think I'm gonna want them on the long side. So let's just do that. Isn't that pretty? Obviously without the clip. And then I can add a little bling in there. Let me just pinch that there. All right, my friends, so that's today's project for Marie Antoinette. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you give it a try. Pull out any kind of parchment paper that you may have in your stash, guys. Very inexpensive. This one happens to be 45 feet by 12 inches, so you can imagine the amount of bags that you can make for your journals, or even as happy mail and friend mail. Tuck some goodies in there and then send it off. I think she is adorable. I love her. I'll put her in there. I still have some bits and pieces from Whispers that I want to use, but there. Absolutely gorgeous. I really had a lot of fun doing this, and I knew exactly where these frames were going to go. So there we have it. Hope you give it a try. Hope you found it useful and inspirational. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to connect with the design team. We have a very, very talented group of ladies who craft for Decorate Your Life using her collections. Each one of us do different. Not everybody does journals. So I know that you are able to connect with someone on the design team that crafts right up your alley. As always, stay blessed. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you at the next video. Take care now. Bye.